Hey there, everybody. This is Cholera, and welcome to a dual commentary with Clazzert. Here is the round of 4 of the World Cyber Games Korea 2009. This is Jaedong versus Stork. We have skipped around a bit in our coverage, but hopefully this won't come as a big shock or as a spoiler to you guys. We're sorry if it does, but these games are coming at us quick and hard, and I'm sure this game is going to be very exciting between these two great players. Jaedong beating Ro4 in the round of 8, and I believe Stork beat out Fantasy. Yeah, of course. Stork beat out Fantasy in games that I commentated in the round of 8. Certainly good matches, and both of them 2-0'd their last competition. So we're going to see how they do here. Any predictions or thoughts here as we move into the game, class?
Yeah, I think both of these players obviously are going to be hungry for it. I would favor Jaedong, even though he's been playing a lot of ZVZ lately. That's what he's been practicing. But I would probably favor Jaedong slightly versus Stork. I think while I appreciate Stork as a player, I think he's obviously he is an S-class player, but I don't think he's quite there where Bisu is when it comes to taking on the Zerg players. And I think that as far as Zerg versus Protoss goes, I think Bisu is really the only player out there who can consistently challenge Jaedong and consistently beat him. And we've got Jaedong starting up here at the 11 o'clock position at the top left-hand corner of the map, Stork in orange at the 1 o'clock in the top right hand corner, and Jaedong's initial overlord looks like it's going to scout in the right direction. But yeah, my initial guess would have to back Jaedong.
Yeah, I think so too. Absolutely. You know, I mean, Stork is okay at PvZ, but sometimes he does have certain errors that are exploitable. Look at this, though. He's opening here with a pylon inside of his base, which means that he is going to be going for a one-base opening here with a gateway. And this is going to be an interesting variation here on Return of the King. I think it's going to be fairly unexpected also. Perhaps Stork feeling the need to be a little bit creative against the master of Zerg race, of course, although certainly that's been challenged recently by a lot of old and new Zerg players. Ro4, of course, Com, both making it into the finals of the MSL, and Hyuk, perhaps, is the greatest challenger of all. And for those of you who don't know, you will probably see by watching some of our videos. Looks like we're starting off with a 12 hatch here for Jaedong, which means that he might be in trouble against a fast 2-gate if that is indeed what Stork's doing. But no, he is going 1-gate tech here. Interesting variation here, and certainly he might be able to get a Zealot in that area, attacking the hatchery in time, although certainly it will not be a game finisher, you know, like if he had gone for some kind of proxy 2-gate or something like that, or a 9-10 gate. Instead, he is going to go for a slower build, a tech build, but this is interesting. I mean, why do you think he's choosing to do this, class?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's a question of confidence or if it's just he's hoping to surprise Jaedong, and you know sometimes players do go for that. Unfortunately for Stork, Jaedong is going to scout that because his overlord has gone in the right direction. Jaedong still hasn't taken any gas. Jaedong sent a drone as well to scout along with the overlord, and that's important. Luckily though, Stork has actually sent that probe. I think Stork was initially sending that probe southwards towards the 5 o'clock base, but then he turned it around. I think he either saw the drone of Jaedong's or the overlord, and he sent the probe in the right direction. So he's going to have a little bit of a clue what Jaedong's up to. Jaedong meanwhile has seen that gateway, and Jaedong just about managed to get his extractor there before that probe got there. Otherwise, there would have been an opportunity for Stork to perhaps put an assimilator down there and block that for Jaedong. It looks like Jaedong's going to lose a drone here. Ouch! And Jaedong, falling asleep for a second, manages to lose a drone to Stork's scouting probe. But Jaedong's now got that spawning pool up, and I think he's going to be in a decent enough position to defend against at least the early harass from Stork, although he's already lost one drone, and the second drone coming under heavy fire from that probe. So Jaedong needs to be a little bit sharper here.
Yeah, he does have the scouting advantage, Clazzert. I think there's a slight delay, perhaps 5 seconds between us, but that is okay because of the transatlantic distances here. Here's a probe from Stork about to get killed off. It's got one little bit of sliver of health. I agree with you. I think Jaedong is going to be fairly well prepared. Look at this, though. Jaedong is not going for a lair off of his 2 hatcheries. I believe he has the third, actually. He should have a third at some point, somewhere around here. But perhaps he only has 2, and he probably has gone for speed first if he has only 2 hatcheries, because he hasn't gone for that lair. And Stork, meanwhile, has a decent-sized force here. He's got Zealots, 2 Zealots, and 1 Dragoon, and he's going to have Corsairs out. There's a Hydralisk Den. So this is actually going to be a 2-hatch Hydralisk build here from Jaedong. Jaedong basically saying, you're going to try to go for a funny build, well I'm going to go for a funny build to use Stork. Of course he's going to need some Hydralisks out also but to help defend, but I think this is going to be a strong build, a strong attack build, although a pretty weak econ build afterwards. This should be very interesting to watch how this game progresses. And Stork is in the natural expansion now.
Yeah, Stork and Jaedong's natural expansion, and Jaedong has managed to get a Hydralisk out. He's got a couple of Zerglings coming in as well. The Hydralisk, first Hydralisk goes down. Stork is doing a great job of microing his units. Jaedong also using the drones to fight, but he's got another Hydralisk popping out. But he's not able to focus his units as well because one of his Hydralisks is hitting the Corsair as well. And he's actually lost all of the Zerglings. So Jaedong actually laying waste, Stork actually laying waste to Jaedong's base. Jaedong's losing Overlords as well. He's managed to kill the Dragoons and one of the Zealots, and now Jaedong finally is going to be able to hold his base, hold his natural. But he lost a lot of units in the process, although I don't think he lost too many drones. So his economy hasn't taken too much of a hit, but I think Stork has killed at least 2 Overlords, if not more. Meanwhile, Stork looks like he's getting ready to set up his natural expos, so I think it will cancel itself out a little bit, Stork's attack, but this Overlord hunting is really hurting Jaedong big time, but he's managed to kill all the Corsairs. So Jaedong successfully defends with that 2 base Hydra build, 2 base Hydralisk Den build, and it looks like he's getting ready to take his 3rd base now that he's secured that to try and catch back up on the economy. Meanwhile, Stork continues to send in Zealots to try and harass. I think this game is still pretty even, Cholera.
Oh, I think I actually think Stork may be a little bit ahead. Jaedong right now is behind about 10 food, and I think he was almost sidelocked for a little bit. But we're gonna see. I mean, Jaedong obviously one of the best players at recuperating from being behind, as is Stork, by the way. If you check out some of Stork versus Fantasies games, he did fantastic getting back from pretty big deficits, like losing an early Nexus on a 12 Nexus build. So Jaedong right now is in a bit of trouble, I feel, although you're right, he does have the early expansion and Stork did not, which is going to make, of course, a huge difference. Jaedong right now has his 3rd base about up. Stork right now kind of, like you said, resetting a little bit. He's got 3 cannons now, morphing in the front. Jaedong doesn't have much in the way of forces. He's going to send a Hydralisk, and it's going to see the bad news that the expansion is almost up already. Not too much he can do at this point. Stork right now can go Templar. He has gotten a Citadel of a Dune down. And we'll see where he goes from there. I think Stork probably is going to be slightly ahead in economy until Jaedong builds up his 3rd hatchery, in which case Jaedong will once again be ahead. But I do agree, now it does seem the game has swung a little bit more to a standard game, although just as I say that, Aspire goes down and a 2nd gas a little bit early, so I don't think we're going to see necessarily mass hatcheries. We might just see a Mutalisk build here coming out of Jaedong, some kind of tech build.
Yeah, he has got the Templar Archives down. Stork did go for that Templar Archives, putting the 2nd gateway down as well. Jaedong has obviously put that Spire down, so it'll be interesting to see how Jaedong copes with this. Stork has produced another Corsair. For a second I thought he might have stopped producing Corsairs, but he doesn't want to surrender the air advantage to Jaedong. But yeah, this is essentially now transitioning into a normal game, and you can see that Jaedong is pretty much caught up in food count, although Stork's still about 5 ahead. At one stage it was 10, but now it's 35 to 31, so it does feel like Jaedong is catching up in the food count, and with those 3 hatcheries pumping, he's able to get that economy going. But meanwhile, Stork has got those Templar Archives up, but Jaedong is prepared for it. He's putting creep colonies down, and I think he's anticipating those DTs coming in. Stork with the lone Corsair. I think we might actually, I'm not sure if there are going to be any DTs out for Stork yet, or if he's going to go straight for High Templar. I haven't seen any DTs out for him, so I don't think he's going to go for that, especially since Jaedong has the Hydralisk there, so I don't think it would make sense for him to go for that. But he has got the Templar Archives down, so yeah, actually the DTs are coming out, so Stork is sending DTs in, but Jaedong has got a Sunken down at his Expo at the 3 o'clock position, as well as a couple of Hydralisks and Overlords there, so this gambit is not going to pay off for Stork, and those DTs are going to be essentially useless, and I think that's going to allow Jaedong to come back. But again, if you look at the food counts, Stork is 47 of 66, Jaedong is 31 of 43. So if you were just going by food counts, you would have to give Stork a decent advantage, but I wouldn't write Jaedong off.
Yeah, I mean, Stork does have an advantage, but you're right, Jaedong... Oh, well, look at this. Stork actually managed to get 2 gas drones. Not exactly a great trade, but certainly one that he'll have to take here. Stork, though, is going to be facing up against Lurkers from Jaedong. Jaedong choosing to go for Lurkers, not indeed for Mutalisks, like I was saying. It was a possibility, certainly. You know, I feel like Stork may have put more pressure early on, actually, when Jaedong was incredibly weak off the 2 hatcheries. I was a little surprised Stork didn't transition into extra gateways and try to end it very soon. I guess he decided that he couldn't do it, and he went for an expansion instead. But in some ways, I think he's opened the door for Jaedong to come back here quite a lot, because as you can see, Jaedong now fully healthy on 3 bases with 3 gas, where Stork is at 2, and is going to probably face a lurker contain very soon. Yeah, you can see one lurker already wandering towards that side. I don't think Stork has a robotics facility started yet. He may have one just started, but he is going to be contained for a little bit of time here, despite getting the High Templar out. I do feel like, yeah, I mean, there was a chance. I guess he started off with just one gateway, and that was the difference. You know, he wanted to go for a fast Corsair build with a couple of units to harass, but when the harassment was so successful, when he had managed to kill so many drones and the natural expansion was basically laid to waste, I don't know if at that point he should have, or right before then, he should have decided to put more gateways down and try to end it with one base on his own against 2 hatcheries, 2 base from Jaedong, but we will never know. We're going to have to see how Stork plays this out here. He's got a lot more gateways going up. Jaedong has made his classic switch to Mutalisks. We're going to see if this has any effect, though. I think it might be a bit late, but Jaedong has been known to make miracles happen with his Mutalisks. He manages to pick off one Corsair there with a pair of Scourge hidden among the Mutalisks. Very nice play. Stork trying to storm them, misses. Very hard to storm flying Mutalisks, especially when controlled by Jaedong. So I don't know if this will be really successful in harassing probes, but certainly will help him in sniping High Templar at this point.
Yeah, Jaedong is actually going to get a couple of probes. Another storm. Actually, Stork storms his own probes. Classical. It's just complete reflex storm by Stork. Storming his own probes. I don't think he killed too many, though. But he did lose a couple of probes there, and that's going to hurt his economy. And Jaedong, you can actually see the food count equal for both players. Jaedong continuing to move around with those Mutalisks. He doesn't have a very large Mutalist force, but he's annoying Stork a lot with it. And he gets a High Templar snipe. That's going to be painful. And takes the Corsair down with more Hidden Scourge. That is brilliant Mutalist micro. And Jaedong might be fighting himself a way back into this game here with that kind of play. Looks like he's trying to take another expansion down at the 7 o'clock position. Stork does have a probe there, however, to try and delay and harass him. But I think Jaedong's probably going to be able to take that because Stork doesn't have much of a ground army. He does have a decent number of Dragoons, but he doesn't have a large size ground army right now. He's still got those Dark Templar wandering around the map, but Jaedong's going to try and take them down with the Mutalist, so he's going to take the Dark Templar out as well, which is going to reduce the scouting information that Stork has. Stork now up to 6 gateways. He's got a large Dragoon force. I think, though, even though Jaedong has been hurting Stork and annoying him, I think Stork is kind of getting ready to make that kind of biggish push, and the problem for Jaedong is that he doesn't really have a large ground army. Stork, once he gets maybe half a control group, even more, of speed upgraded Zealots into the mix with his army, I think Jaedong is going to struggle to defend against it, because I think all he's got is a handful of Mutalisks and maybe 5 or 6 Lurkers, and they aren't even in a containing position. So if Stork goes in here sooner rather than later, I think Jaedong could struggle to hold.
I think so too, although I think Stork's window is slightly closing, or it is closing at this point because of Jaedong's economic advantage. And Jaedong is getting a lot of lurkers here. We're going to see how this combined arms attack goes now. We know Stork has often problems with keeping his observers alive. I know this from personal fact. Jaedong manages to snipe one of the obs. I think there's only one observer left. If this observer goes down, that will be the end of the vision for Stork, and it goes down. It's gone. Oh no, classic Stork mistake. Stork, oh no, he's got one more observer. He's lost so many times against Zerg because of lack of observers, and I think this is one of his exploitable mistakes against Zerg. Oh, again, he loses another observer. There's no vision once again, and you know, I mean, it's partially you know, honestly, one shortcoming of his, but it's also, of course, Jaedong's absolute perfect play with his Scourge. He is the Scourge master in StarCraft, and looks like Stork's picking up a third. But yeah, I mean, if you guys watch games that Rise and I cast of Stork versus Savior, Stork versus Yellow Arnak, I mean, in all those games, Stork loses pretty much because of the fact that he doesn't have observers. Actually, he won against Yarnak, but Yarnak was down to like less than Stork's bases, but yet held on for about 25 minutes through purely just defending. It was ridiculous and ugly to watch. Stork, though, is advancing with lots of Dragoons, lots of Lurkers getting among there. It's very close battle here. Stork, once again, loses the obs. No obs for him, and oh man, this is just so painful. Jaedong has the early tech, too. Of course, he's got the... Oh no, another observer goes down. That's got to be the 6th observer this game. Every single obs from Stork has been taken down once again. I feel like a broken record here, but it is true. Stork at 3, Jaedong at 4 bases. Well, I love these exchanges in the middle, though. It is great battles back and forth.
Actually, I think Stork is actually still in a very strong position, although Jaedong is just clinging on right now, in my opinion, in this game, because if you look at Stork, he's got a much more superior army, but Jaedong somehow just managing to snipe those observers has kept himself in the game. Meanwhile, Stork is sending a couple of Zealots down to try and take that Expo down at the 7 o'clock position, and Jaedong's going to be forced to send his army there to kind of cancel that out, but he doesn't have a lot of units to spare. He's sending a couple of Lurkers down. Now Jaedong has got a decent-sized army, so he's able to put a little bit of pressure on Stork. He's going to try and box Stork into his main here, into his natural Expo, now coming in with a lot of Lurkers, dropping those Lurkers,
no.
massive storms from Stork, good storms, catching a lot of those Lurkers in the process. Stork loses a couple of Zealots, Jaedong loses a couple of Lurkers, but Jaedong manages to get that semi-contained up at Stork's natural Expo, but Stork has killed that Expo at the 7 o'clock position, and I still feel that despite the fact that Jaedong has just managed to, and I think Jaedong deserves a lot of credit for the way that he's taken those observers. You're right, he killed something like 6 observers there, and that was brilliant play by him, and he deserves a lot of credit for that. Now again, he's trying to take, Jaedong trying to build another expansion at the 8 o'clock position. Jaedong with 1-1 upgrades on his Zerglings, trying to take those Zealots down. He should be able to take those Zealots down and preserve that expansion. He needs that expansion, because right now Stork is equal bases with him, and that's not where Jaedong wants to be at all. But Stork is trying to find an avenue to move those units out. That contain wasn't going to hold because Stork just circled his units around, and Jaedong's been forced to pull back with his Lurkers. I just still feel that Stork has got a superior army to Jaedong, although Jaedong has got the Defilers in the mix now, and that could be the critical difference. And Stork has sent a lot of his Zealots out on raid, so he doesn't have a lot of Zealots to support those Dragoons, but Jaedong's army is very Lurker heavy, so Stork has exactly what he needs. Now he's got a shuttle as well, and he's got that Island Expo at the 1 o'clock position. So I still feel Stork is favorite right now to take this game, and it's really down to Jaedong to kind of try and hold and come back in this game. And if you look at the food count difference, there's a good 30 units of difference, 30 food difference between the two players right now, which is quite a lot.
Yeah, I mean, Stork has had absolutely great storms this game. I just always note the loss of observers. Not necessarily his own fault even, but it's just funny to note. Anyway, it looks like Jaedong, you're absolutely right. He needs to win one of these battles, or at least not lose any more bases. Gets another obs, and right now he might be doing a little harassment here on Stork. He is going to plant some things on his on one of his expansions. Stork now storming in towards the south of his base there. Jaedong with the first Dark Swarm of the game, but that's just going to be a target for storming, of course. Only one Dark Swarm. I'm surprised there's not more being cast there. The Defilers look like they might have been killed by now. There's another one in a sort of defensive position, and now there's some Lurkers underneath. That's the combo he needs, although that is obviously still susceptible to Psionic Storm. Jaedong in trouble here at the lower left. Jaedong could certainly lose that base very quickly. He's just doing a tiny bit of harassment here on the lower right. Not going to do too much, although it looks like Stork is going to choose to keep his army in the center of the map. Jaedong right now just struggling to stay alive, like you were saying, and Stork now has a 50 food advantage despite Jaedong's heroics in defending. I mean, I think partially the early game, you know, it was hard for Jaedong, and Stork has certainly had just very, very precise unit composition, which sometimes matters more necessarily than observer control or whatever. He has great unit composition, and he has also had great storms. Now Jaedong is going to lose that one Lurker that's got, oh man, it's got 11 kills though. Wow, before dying. Jaedong with prettier play perhaps, but Stork perhaps with more effective play in the end. We're going to see there's going to be a pivotal battle up soon.
Yeah, it looks like Stork is going to march into this expo, Jaedong's 4th expo that he's been trying to get up, and he's managed to get up at that 8 o'clock position, and he's good. There's no way he can hold this expo. He's only got a couple of Lurkers there that are going to die very easily. He just doesn't have the army to take on Stork head on. So Stork is just going to slowly wear Jaedong down and finish him off. Jaedong is trying to get a Defiler out of that Nidus, but that Defiler is going to go to waste. He's bringing more army around from the rear, but yeah, Jaedong GG's. Jaedong GG's, and that was, I think I probably misread, to be honest, the opening of the game, because Stork's opening actually gave him a significant advantage that he managed to carry throughout the game, because once he got that army out, he was always ahead, and I think Jaedong was always playing catch-up after that initial attack on his base, because Stork did a lot of damage in that attack.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It turned out that the econ option was right. I was just a little scared for Stork because Jaedong obviously is known for his mastery of the late game, and you know, Stork though stuck to his guns. He said, I'm going to do a lot of damage to you, but then I'm not going to take the riskier option. I'm going to play the safe option and just you know, cement my advantage by continuing a longer game. I'm not afraid to face Jaedong in a 20-minute game, and it turned out to work very well for him. The Dino Toss slaying the Dragon here in Game 1, and this is a best-of-3 series, so if he does it again, the series will be over, and, you know, at least according to us, a tiny bit of an upset, I think, will have been accomplished by Stork, although certainly both are S-Class players, obviously, and neither of them is called Hyuk, so there can't be such a massive upset. But we're going to see what happens in Game 2. Final thoughts, class?
No, I think that was impressive play by Stork, and his opening gamut was what really paid off for him. And I think that it was just he did so much damage with his initial attack, and I think he actually microed better than that attack when he had a couple of Zealots and Dragoons. And Jaedong, unfortunately, even though he was trying to get the Heartless out, I think his Heartless just popped maybe 5 seconds too late for him because he wasn't able to muster a large enough force to defend himself with. And he might have been just better off putting a couple of Sunkens down to try and or putting at least one Sunken down to support his two hatchery Heartless build, because that Sunken would have bought him perhaps the time that he needed to get those Heartless in play.
Yeah, I think Jaedong probably was trying to save on the Sunkens because he likes aggression. You know, obviously he's not going to try to play a defensive game. That, you know, two hatch Hydras, if he had held it off successfully, would have been good for a counter parry. But we'll never know. Jaedong losing the first game. Let's move on. Game 2. GG's.